Welcome back to doremicom channel. I'm doremicom.
And I am Solidsmurf.
Yes, way to go with the enthusiasm there, Smurf. Anyways, we're here to talk to you about a new feature that we're going to be doing on the doremicom channel. It's called the 40K Roundtable discussion. We're going to be using the Uvu software to get people online doing video discussions about what's going on in the 40K world, not only rules, but also just industry stuff. To give you all a taste of what the 40K Roundtable is going to be like, we're going to go ahead and bring up the topic that GW is putting the kibosh on Vassal 40K. Kibosh meaning they're enforcing copyright laws against Vassal 40K. So the first question is, does GW have a right to do it? And secondarily, does it make sense that they're doing it? To start off the debate, we're going to start with Smurf. Smurf, take it away, my man.
I think they totally have the right to do this. I mean, it's their product. They own the copyright. I think they have all the right to do it. Do you want me to hit question 2?
Yes, hit question 2.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to GW.
I don't know. It could go either way. I mean, I could argue that left. I could argue that right. I think right now in this economy, no, it doesn't make sense. Down the line, maybe. But I don't think it made sense at this point, no. I really don't.
All right.
Do you want to go why? Can we go why?
Well, we just took the focus off of you right now for the video. So.
Okay.
So now I'm going to go ahead and debate the counterpoint on this, and understand that in our roundtable discussion, we might have 6 people completely agreeing with one another, okay? So it's not always going to be a debate. It's just going to be a discussion. In this particular instance, Smurf and I disagree on this. I think it's a fine line that GW is actually taking on whether or not they actually have the right to enforce the copyright. And the reason I say this is because, with the exception of the words that they themselves created, such as Tyrannid, Space and Marine, you can put them together. They exist in different movies called Space Marines. And quite honestly, there's nothing really that Vassal has done that has broken the copyright, with the exception of the words that GW themselves created. The fact that they call themselves Vassal 40K wouldn't matter. Literally, all that really Vassal 40K should have had to do was to remove the reference that it's a Warhammer 40K game. If they had done that alone, that might have been enough, and called the Tyrannids the aliens might have actually been sufficient. Might have been sufficient. Okay. The second thing is, did it make sense for GW to actually do this action? And I'm going to tell you right now, it makes absolutely no sense. You have to understand, what's the logic that they would do this for? And it really kind of breaks down to a couple different reasons. One is that they're going to come up with their own pay version of the same software. Quite honestly, Vassal 40K did not take anything away from Dawn of War. If you're a Dawn of War fan, you're a Dawn of War fan. Vassal 40K did not impact that. If they're worried about it taking away sales from the tabletop game, that too is ridiculous. I love Vassal 40K, but if I have a choice between a Vassal 40K game and a tabletop game, I don't even care if I pay all that extra money for the figures. I'm playing the tabletop game. So all you're doing is you're keeping the game out of the hands of people who can't afford your models, which is stupid, because the bottom line is, bring in these people who can't afford it, playing the Vassal 40K for free, and then they'll grow up to be players of the tabletop game, understanding the rules. I mean, that's just logical. But I'll be honest with you, if Vassal 40K was requiring people to pay money to play it, wouldn't do it. So if GW is going to now think, oh, well, we want to have the rights to do the same thing and have people pay, no one's going to pay for that. And no one I know is going to pay for that. And secondarily, they're going to have to pay all this extra money for developers to actually build the software. So GW is losing free advertisement and a free way for younger players or people who just simply don't have the funds to get into the game. What they really needed to come down on was the PDFs. The free codices that a lot of people are out there enjoying, that's where the legality of GW's right to their claim makes entirely perfect sense. Let me give you a perfect example. I could buy the rule book, cut out little paper circles, and play the game. I'm not breaking any copyright laws there. Vassal 40K effectively did that, but made it so that now I can play Smurf, who lives in a completely different game, or sorry, who lives in a completely different state, and we both stay interested in the game. So that when I go to his house and we're playing apocalypse-sized missions that Vassal 40K simply can't handle, we're continuing to feed money to GW. Them taking down Vassal 40K, I don't think it makes sense for them to do on any level. The only reason that, and I'm going to go ahead and back out so we can hear this debate between the two of us. Mm-hmm. The only thing that might have been an issue is if their lawyers felt that, again, utilize the words that GW specifically created, like Tyrannid, posed issue with GW maintaining copyright to people who are doing far worse things, like creating their own series of models without licensing those off to GW. That's the only thing I can think of. So it's kind of like if the copyright law stipulated that they had to protect it by taking down Vassal 40K, that would be the only logical reason that I can think of for GW doing it.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't think it's the smartest move for GW right now. I agree with you on that point. Now, if you look at do they have the right to? They totally have the right to, not only because of naming of like Tyrannids, Dark Angels, Imperial Fist, things like that. Those names were on there. But also you have to look at intellectual property. This is what protects artists. GW has paid artists to sculpt miniatures, right? Mm-hmm. You know, that's part of the game, is the miniatures. They pay. This is why you cannot you can't take a GW miniature, you know, put it in rubber, pull the rubber apart, smash it back together where the hole was, and fill it with resin and cast your own GW models. That's illegal. It's encroaching on the intellectual property. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Vassal 40K was doing that too, because their miniatures, even though it was a top-down view, shared the likeness. You know, you could tell.
But dude, this goes back to the whole issue that I said before. I could draw on a piece of paper the likeness of a Space Marine and play it on the tabletop with just pieces of paper. And GW can't come after me. There's there's no legal reason. And if Vassal 40K was charging for their software, that would be one thing, but they weren't. You know what I mean? So it's not it's one of the things where I agree with you. What they needed to do was genericize all the units, which would have frustrated some players, but who cares? If they just named it Space Marines, there would have been no copyright issue. You would have, you know, if they didn't name the various characters, you know, by the names that GW came up with, if they didn't have a Vulcan Histon character.
There's no way to verfilmen die meneer wat iets serieus bij what is it best nou en als een schaarsner is we niet over we wait dan there's no way to was niet van de wel en ja niet er no way to was